Good afternoon. I'm here to talk about the lives of rural women who have made a great impact in their own communities, their own lives, and also in governance structures. Let me start with the story of my friend, Shehnaz Beg. Shehnaz's father was a forest worker, and that is why she was born in a forest colony in the middle of Tadobandhari Tiger Reserve. She was born inside the core zone. She grew up in the villages of the Tadoba area. She studied till class 10th. And when I met her in 2012, she was a very young woman, a young mother with 2 very small children, and she was struggling to set up her homestay cottage for the tourists who came to visit TEDR. She was just like any other rural woman, one woman out of the 45 crore rural women of India. What set her apart was her dream. The very first day when I met her, she said to me, "Tai, I want to become a forest guide." And I said, "Go ahead, become a forest guide." Coming from my background, my father was an army officer, my mother was a teacher. I came from such a liberal family, from such a privileged family, that for me, if somebody says, "I want to become something," the immediate response is, "Okay, become that. What is stopping you?" But when I heard Shehnaz's story, she explained to me how the men in her own village were completely opposed to her and to any other woman getting into the forest guide business. The men had a monopoly over the forest guide business because the number of tourists were increasing. It was very lucrative for them. They did not want any woman in that scene. The organization which I had formed in 1999, Shramik Elgar, we decided to stand with Shehnaz, and over the next few years, we were with her, even as the men opposed her, cajoled her, argued with her, fought with her, threatened her. We kept on working on her dream. Then one day, we decided that the fight with the men in the village was not going anywhere. It was simply increasing the acrimony in the village. And we decided that, okay, let us change our strategy. Let us talk to the forest department instead, because they are one of the most important stakeholders where ecotourism management is concerned. And that is how we started with visiting the Range Forest Office, then the Divisional Forest Office, then the Chief Conservator of Forests. And I remember I came with Shehnaz to Nagpur to meet the Principal Chief Conservator of Forests. It was a long interview, lot of discussions, lot of convincing. But fortunately, when we went back, the Forest Department came back with a proposal. They said, "We will not do anything for one woman, but if you give us 6 women, then we will train you and we will help you to become forest guides." I am witness to the energy with which Shehnaz went door to door in her Moharli village, convincing the women, convincing their families, convincing the in-laws, till she had 5 other women with her. I am so proud to share with you, my friends, that all 6 women underwent the training that the Forest Department offered. They passed every exam, and today they are at the gates of Moharli anytime that you want to visit TATR. It is a great achievement, and it was such a proud moment for us when Shehnaz was felicitated by the Chief Minister of Maharashtra as the first female guide of Maharashtra. But the greater achievement is that because she opened the door for the women in her own village. Today, if you go to TATR, there are female forest guides in every gate. In Adegaon, in Devada, in Kolara, in Khotwanda, even in the night safaris, women will accompany tourists to the safari and offer and share their knowledge of the flora and the fauna of the region. This was unthinkable in 2015, 8th March, International Women's Day, when for the first time Shehnaz and the 5 other women wore their olive green uniforms. The even greater achievement for me was that today not a single man in any of the villages opposes the women. That is the change that we wanted to see. Today the men treat women with equality, with respect, and just like any other forest guide. Yes, there are male forest guides, there are female forest guides, and the tourists have the right to decide whether they want to go with the male forest guide, or if they have women and children with them, they can choose to go with the female forest guides. Friends, I'm a grassroots activist. I've spent 25 years in the villages. I was fortunate that through Shramik Elgar, I was able to work on many grassroots campaigns, whether for land rights, for forest rights, for the rights of artisans, craftsmen, rural workers, and most importantly, we worked for liquor prohibition in Chandrapur district because it was destroying the families, the fabric of the community in our district. And in each of those campaigns, in every single work that I ever did, I saw the tenacity of women, I saw the determination of women, and I saw the leadership of rural women. Every single achievement that the organization could make was because of the leadership of the rural women of Chandrapur and Gadchiroli. Not only did they change the behavior and the mindsets of the men in the community, sometimes they even made a change, a dent in the governance structures, in the way the administration treats women. They challenged the apathy of the government. Let me share with you one more story. This is the story of Jabbebai Vatte Mattami. She was a woman of the Madia community. The Madia community has been categorized by the government of India as one of the particularly vulnerable tribal group. It's an Adivasi community which is extremely impoverished, which lives in Gadchiroli, and they are quite alienated from the normal, what we call, so-called mainstream society. When I met Jabbebai in 2001, she was traumatized, she was distraught, because her teenage son, Chinna, was shot dead by the police in an encounter in a forest. In order to justify the killing, the police had announced that Chinna is a Naxalite supporter. When I met her, Jabbebai kept on saying, "My son never touched a gun. He was not a Naxalite. Why did they kill my son?" We supported her to raise the same question through a writ petition in the Bombay High Court Nagpur bench. It was a historic writ petition because for the first time, a person, forget a woman, for the first time a person of the Madia community had knocked upon the door of the courts of law seeking justice for the wrongful death of her son. It is important that she won that case. After 7 years of follow-up, in High Court, Supreme Court, back to High Court. But what is more important is that the High Court converted her petition into a public interest litigation. They expanded the scope of the petition of that one woman to include many other issues that were impinging upon the lives of the Adivasis, and the High Court passed several orders directing the government to treat Adivasi community in Gadchiroli and elsewhere as equal citizens of this country, and to guarantee and ensure all their constitutional rights that they are entitled to. Does it mean that all the problems of Adivasis in Gadchiroli are over? Of course not. But what is important is that in 2002, so many years back, Jabbe Bai Mattami became a symbol of courage and hope. She became a symbol that you can make your voice heard even against all odds. You can fight for justice, which will tell you that there is an urban-rural divide. We know that rural women are at the bottom of the pyramid. They suffer a lot of discrimination and violence, gender-based violence. They do not have access, the kind of access that urban men, urban women, rural men have to technology, to infrastructure, to education, to health, to any other indicator that you can think of. But what is important is that that part of the story is only half of the story. The other half of the story is that rural women have agency. They have compassion. They have tenacity. They have leadership. And sometimes alone, often in collective action, they can turn around any situation for the positive. What they need from us is not patronizing attitude, not pity, not a feeling that, okay, you don't know anything, let me come and tell you how to do things. They need from us, all of us together, to be part of the same change, to come together in friendship, in sorority, and in solidarity. Thank you.